I'm Katie Ruda, and I'm the owner of Homegrown Blooms.
Hi, my name is Lou Perry, and my wife and I own Hidden Spruce Farm here in Westport, Mass.
This is where I grew up, and the business was founded on agriculture and growing my own flowers. So when I moved back home from school in Florida, I started growing flowers in my parents' backyard in Westport, and it was a very locally supported business. And then through COVID and everything, people were just buying flowers and coming to my parents' yard. It was a very small business. It started on very humble terms, but the Westport community was just super supportive of, what I was going for. And it said so much. I was like, you couldn't pay me to move this business anywhere else. I loved just being in the same town that I knew the teachers buying flowers for, or whatever. I just knew my customers, and it was cool to see them get married and them have kids and do their wedding flowers, baby shower flowers. So that was cool. And I thought I wanted to go into architecture for the longest time because I really like design, but I just couldn't sit behind a desk and do math all day. I kind of turned more towards flowers, just because I always liked art and design, but I liked working outside with my hands and working in the soil. So it was kind of a combination of both, because I could grow the flowers and still do the designing part with the flowers. So this was the perfect balance of getting to grow flowers and design with them too. And it's a lot of work. I think a lot of people romanticize being a flower farmer and just picture, gallivanting through fields of flowers, but we try to grow in really sustainable methods. We do a lot with the soil science and a lot with sustainability, and just so much goes into it. Even the off season right now, I'm up at the crack of dawn watering in the greenhouses and making sure that the propane tanks are always full so it stays warm in there for our spring flowers, uncovering snow, dealing with carrying heavy things. It's just a lot more hard work, I think, than what's pictured when you look up flower farming on Pinterest or Instagram. It's a lot of early mornings, late nights, a lot of sweating, getting dirty, and all those fun things. And I learned everything that I really know down in Florida. I did an internship on a farm down there, so shout out to Mariana. She taught me everything from flower farming to designing, and as I really like Erin from Florette Farms too, which is she has a bunch of books about flower farming and floristry. She's from Washington, but she's another huge mentor.
I went to Diamond Vogue High School. Took the electricity program there. I only worked in that field for maybe a year after graduating, and the company I was working for did a lot of commercial electric work where we were digging trenches with excavators and burying, multiple conduits. And I really liked the construction side of it even more than the electrical side of it. And I think that kind of steered me into just working directly for a construction company. And I started that, I guess I was about 19 years old, and I've been in construction ever since. And I've done a little bit of everything, over the years, everything from demolition work to utility work, site development, I started as a laborer, started on the ground, and you have to kind of, put your time in. And I always thought that running the equipment would be really cool and obviously save your back. So I aggressively went in that direction and got as many licenses as I could get, and kind of preparing myself for that. And then I just 100% in the operating direction. I'm a member of the International Operators Union, Local 57 out of Rhode Island. And I've been doing that now for quite a few years. And the company I work for specializes in underground natural gas utility work. And it's rewarding, when you can, I'm kind of a hands-on person, and I like at the end of the day to look back and be able to see what you've done. And, I get a lot of satisfaction out of a good day's work, feel like you've accomplished something. So I take a lot of pride in being safe and, productive at the same time. And, you're dealing with a piece of heavy equipment, with guys on the ground that are trusting you, and you're trusting them. It's really a relationship that, you have to kind of know what the other guy's going to be doing next to get through the day safely. Everybody wants to go home at the end of the day and make a living and come back and do it again tomorrow. And, well, I grew up in town and love this place. When my wife and I were first together, we couldn't afford to live here, and we bought a little tiny cottage in Swansea. And then as time went on, we were able to move back to Westport, and we had a great house on Charlotte White Road, and we did a ton of work to it. It was a beautiful house, nice piece of property. Never thought I would move. Always wanted land, always wanted to do something in agriculture, but just kind of thought that was basically unattainable. My wife came home from work one day and said, the Christmas tree farm on Sodom Road is for sale. So that started the whole process of not really being prepared to buy another house and scrambling to make it happen. 2020 and 2021 were pretty crazy years for real estate. If you've heard the horror stories and outbidding and just a really crazy time. And we weren't looking. So it really came down to pulling strings and anything I could do and draining our accounts for down payments. And, it was a pretty crazy time. And like I said, we kind of fell into this. I've loved this property my entire life, worked down here in the mid-90s for the original owner, and just really thought it was a cool business. Most people at Christmas time are in a good mood. They're coming out with their families. They're selecting their tree. It's a happy time. The whole business model fits our schedule. My wife and I still work, but we're able to be open on weekends, and it's for that short segment of time just before Christmas that we're actually here and open for business. The other mowing and pruning and planting, that can all be done whenever I get a chance. So it's a little more flexible. And this was a really cool place to work. Mr. Farias was just an awesome, awesome guy. I still stay in touch with him. I pick his brain on varieties and fertilizer, and I really always thought this farm was so cool. It's so far off the road. There's just a lot of cool stuff. Stone walls, and the buildings were all built very purposefully. And the house is uses a lot of passive solar, big windows on the south side, very little windows on the north side to protect from the cold wind. Everything's very efficient for being that it was built 45 years ago. He was really ahead of his time for doing research and building things very purposefully. And I just always appreciated it. I just thought the place was just so cool, and rode my bike down here and worked for Paul. It was just a really cool time. There was a bunch of neighborhood kids that worked here, and everybody kind of aged out of it. You started working here maybe at 13, then when you kind of got your license or your first job after high school, or you left for college, it would be a new wave of kids. So yeah, I worked here from when I was probably 12 or 13 till I was about 17. So just a really cool chunk of my teenage years down here. And I have helped him plant in the springtime, which is usually a big push. You're trying to, work around the weather. Things are kind of muddy and sloppy out here in the spring. And then he would do all the pruning during the summer and the mowing and keeping everything tidy. And then we would come in, around Thanksgiving. And he was actually open 7 days a week back then. And so you could work here after school or, until it got dark. And then the weekends were the big push. And yeah, Paul's son, who's a little bit older than me, was down here. A couple of great friends from the neighborhood. And yeah, it was just a really cool time. And Paul also did commercial blueberries in the summertime. Okay. So the same group of neighborhood kids would pick blueberries in the summertime and then do the Christmas trees, November into December. And Paul Farias had the name Bristlecone Farm. My wife and I decided to change the farm name, mostly because the farm kind of fell into disrepair there for a while. They weren't really doing a lot of pruning and planting, keeping up with the mowing, and we just thought that a fresh name, fresh owners would kind of put a new lease on life and, go forward with a different name.
Oh, the beach, but I feel like everyone says that. I love the beach, and I just love, what else do I love in Westport? Like every time I'm in a pickle or need to like just go clear my head, I just drive to Gooseberry, and I mean, you can't really beat that. Yeah, it's like the go-to for a sunrise, for a sunset. It's just like out of everywhere in the world or America, so many places aren't near the coast, and we are, so I try to like appreciate that and go to the beach every time I can. Like me and my friends, especially when I was a little younger, like high school, we would just go swim in the water, like no matter what the temperature was, just because we needed salt water. That was our thing. We were like, we just need salt water. We'd go in, the middle of the winter, but we were blessed to because we live in Westport, and not a lot of places get to experience, being on the coast. And I love Gooseberry, oh my gosh. I just have so many memories of going to the towers and swimming and going there during like some of the happiest moments and also like the saddest moments, just to like sit in my car. And like I remember when I wanted to start my own business and I was so scared to, and it wasn't the typical path that a lot of kids my age were doing, and I was really scared. I just remember like driving to Gooseberry and being like, okay, is this what I'm supposed to do? Like, give me a sign or something. And yeah, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I followed my instinct and my heart. But yeah, being close to, Gooseberry and just growing up going to Cherry and Webb was such a blessing. It was such a good place to kind of think and also swim. So I have a little story about Gooseberry. So I like art, I like design, and the towers. So I didn't know graffiti was like illegal. I thought those towers were always painted. I thought it was fine. So one of my friends' like art project, she had to do like a time-lapse video of a painting, and I had always seen the window at Gooseberry and thought it would be so cool to paint like an animal that looks like you're sitting on. I was like, it would be so cool if it was an elephant, and then like you sat in the windowsill and it looked like you're riding this big elephant. So we went down there with cans of paint. We were painting this big elephant. It came out so cool, but yeah, graffiti is illegal. So the cops showed up at my door the next day. And I painted over a gang's symbol, so they also threatened me. I got in trouble with the cops, some New Bedford gang. I'm pretty sure my prom date painted over it because he was mad at me for not dating him. It was this big thing. Gooseberry has a lot of memories for me.
It was beautiful.
It was a beautiful elephant. It was.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Everyone took pictures on it until the gang painted over it again. Or my prom date. I don't know who did it, but yeah. Well, yeah. There's more to it. Because technically we half finished when we started walking back, and a police guy was walking like up the trail and we were walking back. We were going to get lunch. We were just like, oh, it's looking so good. Let's get a little lunch break in. And we had paint all over us, and he was like, girls, do you know anything about vandalizers at the towers? And I was like, no, sir. And then I left, and I was like, we can't go back. But I was only halfway done the project, so I woke up at like 5 a.m. and drove back and finished it like in a hood by myself, because I was like, I'm not going to leave it half done. It looks like crap, like at this point. So I finished it, and then I posted the video. So it's funny, in the video you can see like my outfit change and like the time of day change. That's because, yep, I went back. And the police officer was just messing with me, and he was like, I'm just kidding. I brought my kid to take a picture on it. It's really cool. But he messed with me because he was mad. He was like, do you know how hot the uniform is? And I had to walk all the way down there because you lied to me. And I was like, yeah, it wasn't my proudest moment lying, but I was like, am I going to get arrested? So, yep. Good old Gooseberry.
Oh man, let me think. Well, I love just being home. I love being on my property, working around here. But when I head out, I love the beach, love Cherry and Webb. Yeah, I have a lot of connections, just different places. But yeah, I mean, I think Cherry and Webb Beach is just amazing. You know, especially get your town resident sticker and enjoy it all year, or as many times as you want to go. And I think it's a great asset. It's too bad that the town doesn't still own all of Horseneck. You know, it got turned over to the state years ago, and now we have just that tiny little parking lot. But it's still a great beach. It's a really cool place to go. I think in the sense of family traditions and something that people look forward to, I think that's a contribution. It would be a shame, I think, to see a farm like this go away, to see it turn into house lots, or even to maybe continue farming, but not for Christmas trees. If it was produce or cattle, it wouldn't have that same family draw to benefit people. And I think a fresh Christmas tree, going out to, take the day and bundle up with the kids and come out and spend some time and walk around and get some fresh air. I think that's a pretty cool family tradition. We're getting people who maybe came here as kids, maybe lost touch, hadn't been here for years, maybe moved back to town or remember this place from years ago, and they want to bring their kids. So we get some multi-generational visitors, which is pretty cool. We get lots of new people that, find us, on Facebook or just Googling Christmas tree farm near me. But I think there's a lot of repeat customers, people that have definitely made this a tradition. They come in, they get their cup of hot cider, and they could spend an hour or two just walking around, and there's no pressure. Just take your time, and if you don't find anything, that's fine too, but We do a CSA program that is community supported agriculture, and we have customers that, everyone from normal customers or business owners that just want to have like fresh flowers either in their house or their shop every week. So they get a share of the flowers that we grow basically throughout spring through fall. We always try to donate bouquets for fundraisers for schools, and I have big dreams of doing like plant a tulip in November and then pick it for Mother's Day, and like just ideas like that I'm still working towards with the future farm and everything. But I really think it's important to show Westport, especially the schools and the kids, that agriculture isn't the worst path to go down. I feel like I grew up and was like, oh, being a farmer, like you won't make any money and there's no direction in it, but there definitely is, and we're in a community that really supports local agriculture, so it's definitely important. So the CSA, it's basically you get a portion of the flowers that we grow throughout our growing season. So you pay ahead of time, and it all comes from this whole term of like community supported agriculture, where farmers might not necessarily have the funds to pay for all their seeds and equipment ahead of time. So you might pay for it like in the winter, and then once spring comes, you get a share of everything that grows. So it's a really good way to support a farm in the winter or in the off season, and guarantee something to look forward to, when the growing season does begin. And so it changes throughout the season. So your spring flowers are flowers that I'm growing right now, like in the greenhouses, and they're just not common flowers, so they're cool. Like people like to see ranunculus and anemones in the spring and peonies, and then as summer comes, we have all our dahlias growing and different varieties of sunflowers and really like uncommon flowers that you wouldn't necessarily see like in a grocery store. And they obviously smell a lot fresher. They last a lot longer because they're just getting cut straight from our farm, put in the jar, and going to the client's house right away instead of being shipped overseas and in a box for a week and just kind of like not as fresh.
Yeah, I definitely do, and I feel like COVID was really the show point of that. I was really nervous because that's kind of when I was opening my business, and all of my weddings were getting canceled, and that's like my main income. So I think it was like Easter. It was my highest sales ever, which is so random for a flower holiday, just because people were getting flowers delivered to loved ones that they couldn't really see. And it gave me so much hope and made me feel so supported by the community, because it was kind of a scary time for a small business, but Westport pulled through.
Absolutely. Yes, I do. Like I had talked about earlier, this farm had kind of fallen into disrepair after Mr. Farias turned it over to his son. His son was running it. Kept it going the whole time. He always sold trees, but unfortunately, I think the property kind of started going down the wrong path. Things were getting overgrown and not keeping up with the planting. So once we came, got everything cleared out, started replanting all the areas, and got a little local buzz that we were going to be open for business that fall. And people really came out to support. People had been here during the years that it wasn't so tidy, and were just, they were just really happy to see it all cleaned up. And new and old people that had never been down here at all were happy to know that something like this even existed in their neighborhood. And you can't see us from the road, so if you drive by, you might not even know we're here. So yeah, people came out and really supported. That was a really cool feeling. Well, I'll give you a lot of credit. It's quite the undertaking. Luckily, this is a part-time gig for us. It would be extremely nerve-wracking to try to live strictly off the farm here. I would have to take on a lot more. I'd have to kind of branch out and do a lot of other stuff. I would have to either get into commercial produce or, livestock of some sort. But the Christmas trees work for us just as a part-time gig. I think it's a great town for small businesses. A lot of small businesses have been here for a long time, and they're just staples. But, starting something new, whether you're competition for something existing or you're trying to think of something new that Westport doesn't have, I think that could be a pretty daunting task for somebody.
I would give the advice to get to know your community and know who your customers are. And I feel like I even get advice from older business owners in Westport that say, don't change your ways that much. I've always been a people pleaser to a fault with business, but a lot of these older business owners, I feel like they are too, in a sense, and they take care of their customers, and they might get home an hour later sometimes, or they might, they might spend some money doing a favor for someone, but at the end of the day, we really are a community that all helps each other. So whether it's me doing, a free bouquet for someone in the community that just lost a loved one, or a car business helping you out and finding a delivery van for you, it all works in a balanced out way. I feel like every business helps each other, and getting connected with those other businesses and knowing who your clients are and doing them those extra little, I don't want to say favors, but putting in that extra thought and care into your work for them will go the extra mile for sure. I wouldn't mind a few more restaurants for young people. I think it would be cool to have one near the ocean I know that it's like hard because of, I know, yeah, it's probably hard for so many reasons, but I think it would be so cool. Like, I love Bayside, but it would be so cool if there was one or two more that, yeah. That's really the only thing we're missing.
No, I don't think so. I think in terms of small town feel, to keep that small town feel, there's some things that we don't need or maybe don't want. You know, I think we have just about everything we need here. So I think we have a lot of great local family-owned businesses. You know, any work you need to get done on your home or property, whether everything from small engine repair to plumbers and electricians and contractors and, you know, anything in between. There's a local family that has a business like that in town, and you could just ask around to your neighbors, you know, who do you use for this and who do you use for that, and I think we have pretty much everything covered. We have, you know, Lee's Supermarket is great. I already mentioned how much I love the beaches here. You know, the river is awesome for people who are into boating, and there's just there's a lot of great things going on in Westport. Home. It is home. I just love it. It's, you know, like I said, I moved away at one point, you know, in my early 20s, and as soon as we were able to buy a house here, we moved right back. And yeah, I think it's just one of those towns that, especially growing up here, and you could come from somewhere else and absolutely call Westport home. You know, if you're living here, it's your home. But I think if you grew up here, it's you have that deeper connection. So
Home. Cows. What makes Westport unique is definitely the fact that we're a farm coast community. So I grew up going to the beach and working on farms, like since I remember having a job, like 12 years old, I was at an apple orchard and then a cow farm, and you know, you could leave work all dirty and go to the beach and like clean up quick, and then I'd go to the pizza job and probably smell like the ocean, but that's Westport.
Oh, well, like I said, I am really connected to this place. I have family that's been here for generations, so this is just home to me, you know. Kids we grew up with, some are still here, some have moved away, but I think Westport's just one of those towns that has that small town feel. You're gonna bump into people you know at the gas station, you're gonna see people you know at Lee's, you know, the post office, you know, just running your errands. If you're from here, you're gonna bump into people you know. And I think that's a cool feeling. And I've only ever really lived in a couple of other places, so I guess I could just say that hometown feel that I never got anywhere else. When my wife and I were first together, first dating, you know, we rented an apartment in Fall River, and that was just an apartment that you came home to sleep, and you left in the morning to go to work. I think we definitely had a little bit of hometown feel when we bought that little cottage in Swansea. That was a cool town, but I didn't grow up there. I didn't know the locals, and I never really saw myself being there forever. That was kind of a stepping stone. So when we were able to move back to Westport and buy the house on Charlotte White Road, that was kind of feeling like I was back in my hometown. That was a cool feeling. Maybe my great-grandfather, Lewis Perry, who I'm named after, who was the first of our family to live in Westport and farm in Westport. And yeah, his farm was right down the road where my dad lives now. And I think that would be a pretty interesting conversation. He, farmed with the horses and oxen, never had a tractor. The roads were dirt. I'm sure just a lot of milestones in his life, probably, electricity coming to the farm and all kinds of things like that that we just take for granted now. So I think that would be a pretty interesting conversation.
Oh boy. Any human, I need a second to think. There's so many. Jesus Christ. Oh, it's gotta be between like Clint Eastwood. Oh, Toby Keith, if he was still alive, rest his soul. I'd love a day with Toby Keith. Julie Andrews. I need to pick one, that's hard. One year for Valentine's Day, we had a guy that ordered flowers that had the blue check mark, and he was like a famous baseball player, and we were so excited. We were like, oh my gosh, we are gonna be famous. Like, we were all excited. And we had like a sign in a frame, like at the top of the stairs that just said like, welcome or something like that. And he came downstairs and he was like, is this sign for sale? Like, he wanted to buy like the frame, and we were all so thrown off. We were like, what is this baseball player doing? Like, it made no sense to us. But I don't think we sold it to him. I think we were like, no, this is our frame, but you can buy some flowers. Like, it was so random. Yeah, I think it's still at the top of it's the blue one. We still have it.
We have a lot of cool customers. So that's a tough one. But we had a customer come, and he is a local DJ on Fun 107, goes by The Gazelle, and he's a local Westport guy, grew up here. I believe he came to the farm as a kid with the previous owners, and he now comes as an adult. And he came, I did not know who he was. He introduced himself, and he bought a tree like a regular guy, and then called me for an interview shortly after, and did a really nice write-up on us, and I thought that was pretty cool. And he's been coming every year since we've been here. And he was the type of guy that was really aware of all the work we've done down here, and was just really going on and on about it looks great, you guys are going in the right direction, and now it's continuing that family tradition. I would do my farm full time. I would not move. I would quit my job, and I would probably do those things that I mentioned earlier, that if I was to make a living strictly off my farm, I would have to expand, and winning the lottery could make those expansions happen easier, and it would take the risk out of those expansions, that it's not a life or death thing whether you make it or not. So yeah, I would stay right here and work on my property.
Tomorrow, I would buy all the property around us, expand the farm, build the future dream house, get a bunch more animals, donkeys, cows, horses, pigs, sheep, ducks, and grow fields of flowers, not just for profit, but just to wake up and look at my beautiful fields of flowers and frolic through them. Yep, that's what I'd do.